We're going to cross now to France 24's Washington correspondent Fraser Jackson. Hi there, Fraser. So what do you think the candidates' priorities are in the state of Wisconsin?
Well, of course, both candidates are trying to create a crack in that blue wall, as it were. Kamala Harris is trying to maintain it and ensure that Milwaukee and the greater area around it, obviously a very Democratic area, goes for her in even larger numbers than before. And she hopes that even more broadly than that the entire state goes for her, along with Michigan and Pennsylvania. That is her easiest path to 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. So she's trying to double down on those blue wall states. Donald Trump trying to flip them, trying to make that blue wall crumble, and he thinks he has a shot at it there in Wisconsin. So he will be giving his closing arguments that we've been hearing since that rally in Madison Square Garden, and Kamala Harris will also be giving her closing arguments as well that we saw at her lip speech here in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday evening. Now just 4 days left to the election. There are very few undecided voters left, just around 4 or so percent of the electorate, we believe, is currently still undecided. So Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are pushing for those remaining few undecided voters who could end up deciding this election. Remember that in the majority of these states, the last election was decided by tens of thousands of votes, in some cases just around 20,000 votes. So every single vote in these areas does matter, and both of the candidates know that. That's why both of them are on their final push, heading through these battleground states before Tuesday's election.
So fears of political violence are obviously already running higher than ever. And now Donald Trump has added to that with some pretty unprecedented remarks about Liz Cheney. Let's take a listen.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
Now, Fraser, I think that goes far even for Donald Trump. What has the reaction been thus far?
Well, the Trump campaign is, of course, saying that Donald Trump was speaking about war and that he was talking about Liz Cheney's propensity for war. However, that has not gone down well with the Democratic side of the electorate, as you can imagine. Now, just for some context, that answer was part of a response to a question by Tucker Carlson when he simply asked Donald Trump, what do you make of Liz Cheney, a hardcore Republican, campaigning alongside Kamala Harris? Well, his answer to that question was 14 minutes long and went on a bit of a meander, talking about January 6th, talking about Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney's father, and then, of course, the highlight, or rather low light, if you're looking at it from the other side, was that remark that he made about Liz Cheney there. Well, she has responded herself this morning, saying that she took to Twitter this morning, I should say, and said, this is how dictators destroy free nations. They threaten those who speak against them with death. We cannot entrust our country and our freedom to a petty, vindictive, cruel, unstable man who wants to be a tyrant. Hashtag women will not be silenced. Hashtag vote Kamala. There's also the Kamala Harris campaign, who have been on the morning shows in the United States this morning, pushing back on this. Ian Sams, one of the campaign spokespeople, saying, think about the contrast between these two candidates. You have Donald Trump, who is talking about sending a prominent Republican to the firing squad, and you have Vice President Harris talking about sending one to her cabinet. This is the difference in this race. So both sides spinning it how they see it.
Fraser Jackson in Washington, thank you very much.